after being subjected to what can only really be described as some more arse-saving measures in the world of Gintama, at least for the animation and production team, I wonder if they're actually going to get back to, plot. A strange thing, I know, but some programs have actually experimented and dabbled a little in that. I'm not sure if I can mention any that have done well though, so maybe Gintama has taken a wise path to steer clear. But of course, it's all in jest, so let's watch some more Gintama. Okay, I haven't ever watched Ultraman, so I'll take your word for it. But swirling ink type patterns is somewhat aesthetically pleasing if it's done well and the colours are nice. They're going all out for this. Ugh. Ultraman parody. Okay. I've seen some... Is it Super Sentai type stuff? If that's the original for Power Rangers, at least. Of course, it's only natural to answer phone calls on a pile of corpses. Okay. Good things can only come of this. Who are you going to fight over on... I'm not even sure this is meant to be Earth anymore. Or at least somewhat similar. Now, Gintama isn't one to shy away from references and parodies, or sometimes just straight out pulling characters into the show with very little change. So I'm curious as to where it can go with this and what kind of story it can pull out. And also, with my very limited knowledge, if Ultraman is what I think it is, does that mean that there's going to be a kind of like Monster of the Week flavour type thing just appear? Which is just some dude in a very dodgy outfit. Let's be honest. Some of the greats were really kind of low effort costumes. I feel like they're getting a bit too into Valentine's Day. Looks fun. Trying your best today, are you, Gintoki? Yeah, of course, you completely forgot. Shinpachi cleans up nicely, doesn't he? Oh. Oh, maybe not. He's not wearing a suit, he's going for the opposite. A bit more of a detachment from his usual style. At least she can understand that there's something up. admit it. Being able to just be like, yeah, I want some chocolate. I want people to fawn over me for a little while. Yeah, your hair was messed up. Look at mine. Ah, the battle really begins now, doesn't it? Sadaharu. Don't get God involved. One way to make an entrance. That's why you don't get God involved. Maybe there's a note. But it's in their house. I really hope it's going to Madao. He needs a win. Really? Are you breathalyzing her? I mean, does she... Do you need a license to fly if it's part of like your being? The shockwave from just prostrating herself is enough to cause damage. I always thought those kind of words they're not really gendered. Yeah, it's not quite just able to fit in. At least, at, at least you factored in some rest time. Oh, you kept it set. I should question as to why that bite mark was so large, but it is Kagura, and therefore. Also, you won't want to take it away from her, as there won't be much left. Trying to make himself look much better than he actually is. To ingratiate. Okay. Ingratiate himself. Every 3 minutes? Quite an overbearing mother, if I say. I only really phone home and see how they're doing every week or so. But Mom, I'm trying to save the universe. Yeah, you can destroy that place. That's fine. At least whatever this. At least it's not another Crab Lante. At least they chose the middle of the street instead of some random building to smash into. And one thing that's always best not to think about is the property damage in these kind of giant fights. There isn't really an age or time limit, I would say. Okay, someone that threw themselves fully into their work. I really despise people like that. Destroy him. He deserves it. I really hate betrayal, if you haven't realised. There is this just putting on that personality onto this Ultraman parody. I don't want to know. Is that the cherry monster? Just let him sleep. You see, if it was Hasegawa sat there, things could be so much different. Of course, the scale might be a bit off, but I'm sure it would work out. It might end this kind of story in a way differently to most. Usually there's a fight and then a lackluster explosion and a turn a face away, make a strike a pose kind of thing. Poor Shinpachi always having to cut through the BS. Huh? A rather. I'm not even sure what to call that type of plan. Um. Is this the first time they've given love advice to a giant robot? I actually wouldn't be entirely surprised if the answer to that was no. I'm one to think that, there's nothing that is time sensitive. Like, you can't be too old to do something unless it's physically too old. Like, in case you break your hip or something, but. There's a history? Oh, it's that, dude. I'll give him that. I didn't expect this thing to return. I know it's in the art style and stylistic and whatnot, but their mouths really creep me out. I'm a mix between Gintoki and Shinpachi's mood right now. Oh, 3 minutes have passed. How many spare phones does she have if she ends every phone call by throwing it into the floor? You're really laying on the tragedy hard and fast with this, aren't you? Her life isn't bad enough, you gotta throw in a dying father. Ah. Great symbols on the phones there instead of the numbers. She doesn't really have an attachment to that cherry monster thing apart from just seeing him in a bar once and thinking, well, you've got some problems. I've got problems as well. I'm not saying either are a good choice, by the way. Oh, yeah. Goku is one of the characters that I think I don't need a reference information about. At least surface level information. Well, his face was a lot more pliable than I thought originally. Less robot if it's able to stretch and smoosh like that. Yeah, this might not be a fight that you should take. Yeah, you may want to actually say something because so far, this this conjoined twin is quite oblivious about what's going on. Kaisetsu desu ka? Thank you, random bystander. Thank you so much. Gintama really likes to do its... Let's pretend this is a high school anime. Oh god. And let me guess, Shinpachi is like the class president or the quiet librarian type. Yeah, why am I so disgruntled? Also, I think I prefer the cherry with the stubble on the goatee instead of the moustache. To think that they are all, at least in this high school fantasy version, rooting for them, doesn't give me much hope for reality. Let's be honest, it was landed on him quite quickly. This is a bit sudden. Oh. How painful was that? To shreds, you say? Congratulations. You can go home and spend some time with your father then. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure why, but most motor function has left my body. This was... This was an entirely Gintama way of handling a Valentine's Day. Sure, they announced that it was February in the previous episode, so maybe I should have expected it, but... That cherry guy could have had a bit more tact, then he might not have had to, well, blast off again. What have you done now, Manuel? Hasegawa. Boy. I'm not entirely sure why, but it was harder to get an attachment to these characters that are at least the main one that was portrayed this episode, I might link it to the fact that there was completely limited emotional factor there. I don't... No, I was going to put it down to it slightly creeped me out. Also, Gintama, Shinpachi, and I don't know why I'm saying and Kagura, because she never really helps the situation, but they didn't really do anything. They sat on her shoulder and gave her a slight boost and moral encouragement. Other than that, it was listening to the internal monologue of the saviour of the universe. Personally, all that I can hope for is that everyone out there who tries to confess in some sort of manner, I hope it doesn't end in complete disintegration of your body or theirs. Well, if it ends without bodily harm, then you've done better than this. I think I'll end it there. If you've enjoyed this episode, please let me know. You can do so by leaving a like, and also maybe a comment. But ultimately, make sure you don't miss anything in the future by turning on notifications and subscribe along to the channel. Gintama's over for another week, so unless you're watching this in the far-flung future, you can crawl back into bed and hibernate until the next episode. Make sure I see you there. If the universe was ever in danger, well, you'd be damn sure your best course of action is probably to leave me entirely out of it. And to make sure I don't have any grand ideals about becoming a life-saving robot giant creature, consider helping me out on Patreon, because then I'll be stuck doing this. So, to Florida Taku, Sal, Raywin, Aegis DR, Denim at 1997, Lewis, Almanza, Aisha M, Danny Tree, Shiwan, ASD, and everyone else, you're stuck with me for the time being, baby.